Khamzat Chimaev keeps saying he's fighting at UFC 300. But will it be against Adesanya? Or maybe Pereira? Or maybe Leon Edwards? Lots of options for the UFC and Khamzat Chimaev. We got this topic and more next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the Community MMA with your host, Chris Cross.
Yes! Yes! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Baby!
What up, what up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the Community MMA, aka the TCMMA podcast. So Khamzat Chimaev is rumored, right? Strictly rumors at this point, to be fighting Israel Adesanya. You heard that right, Israel Adesanya at UFC 300. But I'm not totally convinced. I wouldn't be upset with the matchup. I want that to be known first. Adesanya would be a good matchup, but there are titles to be won. Would Khamzat Chimaev really wait to fight 3 months after the middleweight title fight before he fights Adesanya, right? Because you got Strickland and Duplessis fighting in January. UFC 300 isn't until April. If you want to stay in title contention, you could have potentially a title fight already set up next while Khamzat is waiting in the wings to fight Adesanya. So is that the true path? Is that the best path for Khamzat Chimaev? I'm not totally convinced on that because you still have Alex Pereira out there, light heavyweight. Would Khamzat get a free pass to that title? Doubtful, but you never know. You got Leon Edwards waiting at welterweight. That's a possibility. But the one thing that makes me say Adesanya has the best chance, strategically, because the middleweight division is best for Khamzat right now, and we all know that the UFC needs eyeballs at 300, and Adesanya would certainly bring that. Pereira would too. Don't get it twisted. If it was Alex Pereira versus Khamzat Chimaev for the light heavyweight title, that would sell a lot of pay-per-views. Make no mistake about it. Then you throw in Conor McGregor in there potentially against whoever. That sells even further, which I think would be the ultimate scenario for Khamzat to get the most eyeballs on him. He doesn't have to be the main event. He could be the co-main or fight number 3 if McGregor's at the top of the card. Please believe it. But who is he fighting? That's a question in and of itself. So you look at first Alex Pereira, light heavyweight champ. The tough part there is that Khamzat, for him to fight Alex Pereira, he basically would need a free pass to the light heavyweight title. Because he's only ranked 9th in the middleweight division, I don't see that happening. But the reason that I still hold on to belief for that fight is that you already have Yuri and Rakic set up to fight. So who else does that leave to fight Alex Pereira? Not really anybody. And that's a fight that could sell. Fighting Adesanya just puts Khamzat on the back burner for a title shot all the way until basically the end of 2024. So is that what he wants to do? Could he get a sneak fight in with Leon Edwards? And if he did, does he want to cut that weight? I think any of these 3 potential matchups bring a lot of eyeballs to UFC 300, and I think they're all in play. Just because the fighter, in this case Khamzat, is on the Twitters and other places yelling for the Adesanya fight, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the fight that's set up. We just don't know at this point in time. We don't know if that's the fight that is going to be set up. That's what the rumors are saying. But we got a long way to go. And Bo Nichols was weighing in on this topic. He said, in terms of Leon Edwards, he says, I think there are guys that are going to be able to give him some resistance and stuff, said Nick on his YouTube channel. If Khamzat goes back down, that's a freaking tough fight for him. Islam would be a tough fight for Edwards as well. But I think that's really competitive. So he's saying Khamzat would be a little bit more testy for Edwards at 170. Big weight cut for Khamzat, though. He also goes on to say, I feel like Khamzat comes down, he would probably beat him up. But Islam coming up, even though he's a big 55er, Leon's big, Leon can freaking strike. Colby Covington was able to hold him down a good amount, so who knows? And Leon's smart. He keeps his cool, so I really don't know. But Bo Nickel is weighing in on that. And if Khamzat ends up winning the belt, that's a guy uh, that would be chasing him, right? Welterweight, you got Shavkat. Light heavyweight, I don't know that there's anybody that if Khamzat can get up there and win it that would be chasing him. And I say chasing because when Khamzat wins the belt, whatever belt that is, welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, whatever belt he wins first, the only guys that are really going to be in contention for the title against Khamzat are going to be newcomers, Bo Nickel, Shavkat, and whoever comes up in the light heavyweight division, whoever emerges, because really that division is just filled with newcomers. Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka, Alexander Rakic. We got to see from him. We haven't seen him in a while. He's a winner. Jamal Hill's still in the mix. So that division is a little bit different than welterweight and middleweight. If Khamzat wins welterweight or middleweight, he could hold on to that belt for a long time if he wants to, or he can continue to move up and gain other titles, which is what I think he will do. So a lot of options here for Khamzat. So a lot of people weighing in this week in the comments. They talk about Khamzat. Let us know what's happened and what's up with the injury. I haven't heard anything about the injury, which is a good sign. That must mean he's healing pretty well because he's already eyeing April, and that's about 4 months from now. So that's a good sign that Khamzat is recovering well from that, or else he probably wouldn't be talking about a fight, right? So Khamzat's looking good for April. That's all we need to know. 4 months from now, not today, 4 months from now. And the opponent isn't a lock one way or the other. That's what makes this thing tough to dissect. And then you have the other factors of Islam Makhachev. Could he get a title shot against Leon Edwards? Will he fight Justin Gaethje? Then if he does, who will Leon Edwards fight? Right? So you have all these things in the mix. There's not really anyone for Leon Edwards to fight right now because he's beaten Usman and Colby in his, 2 title defenses. So there's no one really else in the welterweight other than Shavkat. But is Shavkat ready for a title shot right now? Do you see what I'm saying? These are all the questions when it comes to matchmaking that the UFC will have to answer. If you go with Islam fighting Gaethje, that opens a door for Khamzat to fight potentially in any division. And I think Khamzat is open to fighting in any division. But he's only fighting welterweight again if it's for the title. And he'll do it one time and one time only. So if Khamzat ever goes back to welterweight, it's for one fight. That's to get the belt. To me, that's the toughest belt for him to get. If he gets that one, he's the UFC's first 3-belt champion, assuming Henry Cejudo can't do it and other guys like Alex Pereira can't do it at heavyweight, right? Those are some possibilities right now. Not likely, but you never know, right? You never know. Because Pereira can go up there and match up well with John Jones. I don't know about the other heavyweights, but he can match up well with John Jones, and he just has to win it once to become a 3-belt champion. So, Khamzat's got a long way to go. But again, welterweight will be the toughest belt for him to get. Make no mistake about it. So that's how I see it playing out when you guys say, hey, please get into this topic. Please talk about Khamzat. What are the updates? Right now, it's just a rumor mill. And we love it. We don't mind the rumor mill. We'll get into it. We'll get into the speculation. Because the bottom line is we just want to fight, as we said, for the last 3 years. We just want another fight set up. I mean, he's beaten, what now? Holland, Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman. Okay, he's beaten some guys. Now let's get him a title shot. How long does he have to wait? He's not like other fighters that are on the rise when we hype up and then they find a way to lose eventually. He's one that continues to win. He may have had 2 rough victories against Burns and Usman, bigger guys. But he definitely looks better in the middleweight division than welterweight. Because welterweight is scary because he's thin, right? Leon Edwards isn't getting any skinnier. Other welterweights aren't getting any smaller. Khamzat looks small at welterweight. He looks massive at middleweight, and I couldn't imagine what he looked like at light heavyweight. I think that's the worst division for any opponent, even though I think the light heavyweight division right now is stacked, though, with the names we mentioned before, Jamal Hill, Alex Pereira, Alexander Rakic, Yuri Prochazka still in the mix. I mean, you got 4 or 5 fighters. That division is beefing up minute by minute. Let's creep our way into the Q&A. Please leave comments on the videos, any video. We'll take those comments and read them here, discuss them, break them down, and respond. Pandora Elpis, I believe, says, please, prediction of Khamzat next opponent. Are you still thinking on Pereira? Yeah, I'm still thinking on Pereira. That's the hardest one to get because he doesn't have any ties to the light heavyweight. He's barely in the top 10 of the middleweight. That's a tough ask, but the UFC can make it happen if they wanted to. Sarah says, what I love most about the channel is Khamzat Chimaev's news. And I feel you. We love talking about Khamzat, right? He's number one on the do list for a reason. He's our favorite fighter, and he's also a fighter that we believe loses to nobody. So when we talk about Khamzat, you know what's going down. We're just giving it a little rest because of the injury. There's going to be a lot of speculation right now. So all we can do is tell you what we think happens. And I'd have to say Adesanya is the likely opponent right now. But as we've seen in the UFC, anything can happen. Just because they're talking about it doesn't mean anything. Danny says, Bo Nickel still without fighting against a top 15. UFC don't think his level is good. It still seems to be. Yeah, I mean, he's just young. 5 fights in. He's going to be fighting guys like this till he's 10 fights in, and then you'll start to see him creep up like Khamzat did. But if Khamzat wins the belt, they're going to move Bo Nickel along very quickly because they're looking for guys that can realistically have a chance to beat him and the unknown. And Bo Nickel brings that for the UFC. Danny goes on, Khamzat against Edwards for the welterweight title or against Pereira at 205 pounds. Can't wait for when DDP versus Strickland winner is ready. Yeah, I can't wait either because once that fight is done, I mean, if the UFC does nothing until that week, I think they're going to announce a fight that week. And you can't expect DDP, a.k.a. Dricus du Plessis, and Strickland to rebound 3 months later to fight Khamzat at 300. So that's out. So if you want to get Khamzat a title fight, it's got to be Leon Edwards or Alex Pereira. If not, you put him against Adesanya, and that thing would sell because of Adesanya. And it would sell because there's a lot of people that want to see Khamzat go down. And they believe Adesanya will be the guy that will be able to do it. Khamzat deserves to win a belt once and for all. Yes, we agree with you. Michael DeLuca says, what about Khamzat's injury? Is he okay now? And that nasal surgery. Yeah, I mean, all these things are supposed to be going down. I haven't heard anything. He's good at hiding behind the Twitters and speaking out when he wants to. But the way I look at it is, right now it's in process. We don't know. But he'll be fine by April. Tyrion, what about Khamzat versus Adesanya rumors at UFC 300? It's real. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that fight was the right one. I mean, it's not the right one because it's not for a title, and people are going to be upset because he was told if he beats Usman, he's fighting for the title. But that's not the way things are going to turn out, and that's not the way things work. That's why I said at the time, everybody was like, "Oh my God, the winner gets a title shot, or it's a title eliminator." Well, what does that mean? When someone says it's a title eliminator, that just means the loser's not fighting for the title. It doesn't guarantee the winner fighting for the title. It's all semantics. It's all words that mean nothing. Kenneth Bruner weighing in with a long nose. Says Bo Nickel doesn't need top 10 opponents now. He's still learning how to fight. And see, we agree. Me and Bruner agree a lot of times. He's just not ready to due to lack of experience. I'm done with Covington. I just can't anymore with him. That should have been an easy win for him, and he goes out there and embarrasses everyone and the country. Khamzat all aboard, full steam ahead on the Khamzat train. Did you see how he's now training with Saitev Buvesar, 9-time world champion and 3-time Olympic champion in freestyle wrestling? So, Khamzat's putting in work in that specific arena, right? Yeah, there's poor souls that book a fight with him. And that's the thing, is who really wants to book a fight with Khamzat? I mean, really? That's the guy that you want to fight? Khamzat's the guy that you want to get in the octagon with? Really? And I know some of you watch this are completely with me, and some of you are watching this and are like, Khamzat, he hasn't beaten anybody. He beat Usman, and Usman took the fight on late notice, and he barely beat Burns, and he beat Kevin Holland in a catchweight fight. Yeah, it was 2 minutes, but Kevin Holland wasn't planning on fighting him. And, you got all these things. I don't care. I just don't care. Because I just think Khamzat beats everybody. And I'm not worried about it. It's like any sports team or franchise. You get, the Miami Dolphins, for me, just barely beat the Cowboys 22-10 at the last second. on Christmas Eve. And yeah, you'd like to get a 20, 40, 50-point victory, right? Make things easy. But at the end of the day, you win the game, and then you move on to the next one. It don't matter if they look back and say, well, the Dolphins barely beat the Cowboys. That has no bearing on the next game. Zero. Khamzat barely beating Burns had no bearing on him fighting Holland. It had no bearing on him fighting Usman. Him barely beating Usman has no bearing on who he fights next, because he's probably, hopefully not going to get injured in the first round. Right? So people can say, hey, if it was a 4 or 5 rounder, Usman would have won. Well, maybe. But maybe if they fight again, because that fight wasn't a 5 rounder, so you'd have to look at it as they would fight again. Khamzat probably doesn't get injured in the first round, and maybe he dusts him off in the second. And for him to take Usman down at will in the first round, I don't care what anyone says, you got to acknowledge that. Because that doesn't happen to Usman. Even when he loses, he doesn't get taken down and controlled. Okay? That's just not what happens. Yeah, Leon Edwards did some things with him, but he doesn't get taken down and controlled for an entire round like he did against Khamzat. That just doesn't happen. So as far as I'm concerned, the last fight has no bearing on the next fight, and whoever they announce, Khamzat's going to be ready to whoop that behind like he has done so far. I don't believe he will let us down. So there you go. You have asked, I have answered. These are all the potential matchups for Khamzat Chimaev. This is what we see as possibilities. Nothing is confirmed yet. If I had to guess, he's going to fight Adesanya. And I don't like that, because it just keeps, with the UFC, it's like every 6 months is so important, because you get a fight and you're not going to be fighting for 4 to 6 months. Especially when you get to the top now, like where Khamzat is, and you get to the championship level. These guys aren't going to fight every day. They're going to make sure that when they fight, they're 100. And therefore, it's a waiting game. But listen, that's a wrap for today. Next time when we come back, we'll start getting into some predictions for 2024 in terms of fight-by-fight predictions. We already got 6 or 7 of them done. Check out our playlist, UFC predictions. Those are all the best upcoming fights so far, from UFC 297 to UFC 300. We try to get them up. And the predictions, the prediction videos up as soon as we hear about the fights, or quickly thereafter, especially right now when we got time to do so and we're not in the grind of fights every Saturday night. So more predictions coming. Hit us up at youtube.com/thecommunityMMA. You'll see us there. Hit the subscribe button and get access to more videos that are coming. But for now, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. As always, peace.